Hello everyone, this is Paul, the Oaken Knight, and today we return to the fields of Gettysburg with a full review of A Most Fearful Sacrifice, a Hermann Luttmann game published by Flying Pig Games. They call Gettysburg a meeting engagement, but I think of it as a deadly dance, a two-step. The Army of Northern Virginia shows up threatening to overrun a critical position, and the Federals show up just in the nick of time to thwart the move. Then another Confederate division shows up at another critical point, and the same happens. And again, and again. Any game that claims to simulate the battle has to get this right, or it will not be the historic Battle of Gettysburg. It may be a plausible hypothetical, a what-if, a variant that resembles the battle. It may even be fun, but it will not be the historic Battle of Gettysburg. There is even a subgenre of Gettysburg games that are purposefully designed to do this. The Guns of Gettysburg and Rick Barber's own Summer Storm immediately come to mind. But this is not A Most Fearful Sacrifice. While it is not a scripted representation of the battle, it certainly gives players a sandbox wherein they may choose to come close to refighting the battle if they choose to. Much more than its large format predecessors, A Most Fearful Sacrifice is an exercise in controlled chaos. As commander, you shape the battle, but you do not control it. You direct your troops to a given position, but they may or may not get there. You intend to attack, but half of your force doesn't move, or maybe none of it. And at the tactical level, veteran units should brave the inferno, but they may run. Likewise, green units will probably melt, but they may stand. As you know, physically the game is unparalleled. The late Rick Barber's map work is stunning. I have noted previously that this huge map laid perfectly flat across my game table from the get-go. Fantastic. But what I have not mentioned before is that the large unit counters are individually mounted in their sprues and do not fall out until you punch them. Unit counters are nicely chunky and pre-rounded. By some alchemy that I can't figure out, they also punch out without any nubs whatsoever. Not on the corners, and even more surprisingly, not on the sides. The smaller 5/8" utility counters use a more conventional mounting system, and yes, the corners have nubs. After a short session with my 2mm corner cutter, they look just as good as the larger unit counters. In a departure from older designs, units have no facing within their hexes, no front, flank, or rear to worry about. Now settle down and take a deep breath, as there are also no formations. Instead, Hermann assumes that there are competent officers in each counter that can handle the minutiae. This is completely appropriate in a game where you assume the role of Robert E. Lee or George Meade. Once on the map, units are in their element. The counters, look and feel, are reminiscent of maneuvering stands of miniatures. Because there is no facing, players can turn their counters any which way they want and create a smoothly flowing line of troops. A really neat effect. Unit stacking is minimal by design. Very few hexes will require more than 2 units, usually 1 infantry and 1 artillery, and even then, Hermann has provided substitute counters to take any large stacks off the map. So far, I have found these unnecessary, but hey, I'm used to stacks the size of small apartment towers in my regimental Gettysburg games. Status markers are also kept to an absolute minimum. No pin markers, no low ammo markers, artillery ammo points, no bloodlust, or what have you. Just an oversized shaken marker and an entrenchment marker. That's it. Units can break and run and even cause a cascading rout, but within the scope of an hour-long turn, they are assumed to rally. No route markers needed. Upon inspecting the counter sheets, expect to be shocked by the absence of leader counters. Yes, Brunhilde, there are no leaders on the map. But Army, Corps, and Division leaders play a central pivotal role in the design. Leaders from Army through Division are represented by a card with a leadership assessment ranging from poor to legendary. One replacement leader is even rated a poltroon, whatever that is, but it sounds really bad. But sir, I don't want to be a poltroon. While the assessment is eye candy, what is not eye candy is the table the leader rolls on to activate subordinates. Now hear this, A Most Fearful Sacrifice is a card-driven game. Each turn, an activation deck is created containing cards from both sides. plus a few common cards that forms the activation deck for the turn. Corps commanders plus 2 special leaders, Hunt and Buford, are shuffled into the activation deck. Players of previous Hermann Luttmann Civil War games will note that activation chits have been retired and cards have taken their place. At the start of each turn, players prioritize divisions by placing division leaders in priority slots assigned to each corps commander. While corps commanders go into the activation deck, division commanders are placed on their side's command display. When a corps commander is pulled from the activation deck, 1d6 is rolled and the result is read from a chart printed right on the card. Results include: activate 1 brigade of the Priority 1 division. No divisional roll is performed. 2. Activate the entire Priority 1 division. Roll on the division leader's card. 3. Activate the Priority 1 and Priority 2 divisions and roll on the division leader's card. Each result may also name 1 or more subordinate artillery brigades who may activate from all units in 1 hex up to the entire unit. Division leaders each have a chart very much like their corps commander. 1d6 is rolled with results that may include nothing. Nothing activates. Life stinks. Activate 1 subordinate brigade. Activate the entire division with a single order. Activate the entire division. Each brigade may be given a separate order. Note that not all results are on all cards. For example, only particularly bad commanders have a nothing activates result, but it is particularly aggravating when a corps commander activates a division and then the division leader tilts his head like my Irish setter and says, "Huh?" and does nothing for the entire hour. More chaos. Unit orders are simple and have no lasting effect beyond the immediate activation. They include attack. Formations under attack orders may have their units engage enemy units, that is, move adjacent to. They have decent movement, can shoot, and assault. Second, defend. Formations under defend orders may move 1 hex or 2 on primary roads, engage enemy units, shoot, dig breastworks, and rally. Maneuver. Formations under maneuver orders may only move, albeit with a generous movement allowance, and may benefit from primary roads paying only half movement point per hex. I will leave the details of tactical combat to a subsequent video where I will demonstrate play with additional material on how to play Scenario 12, the full battle, that tunes the system by reducing the grand tactical chaos a tad. I have traded multiple emails with Hermann on this, and actually spent Saturday afternoon with him at a local game convention. It ain't over till it's over, but I think he's coming around to the idea of issuing some scenario-specific mods. Until then, wait for my next video, and I'll present my ideas in a playthrough. The card activation deck is also seeded with event cards from both sides. Prior to seeding the deck, players determine how many artillery brigades will shoot as the first combat action of each turn. For each artillery brigade beyond 1, the player randomly pulls out 1 event card from their deck that will be unavailable for the turn. Next, players select 2 events from their remaining cards and seed them into the activation deck. Then additional cards, 6 in the full battle scenario, are randomly selected from the remaining events and seeded into the deck. Players are now ready for artillery bombardment, where they alternate firing artillery brigades, followed by drawing and executing cards from the activation deck one at a time until the deck is exhausted, ending the turn. Not all event cards are created equal, and players will lean heavily on certain cards at different points of the battle. Some examples. Fast Courier. Activate 1 division for a corps that has not yet activated this turn. Roll on the selected division's command table and activate the brigade or brigades indicated. Probably the single most used event card in the game and absolutely essential to the Union on July 1st to move reinforcing divisions from I Corps and 11th Corps to their defensive positions. Redeployment. Another movement generating card. The Federals will probably use this one as well for the majority of July 12th. Rally round the flag. Remove the shaken markers from units in a selected brigade. It is also one of the few ways a unit can attempt to come back from the battle-worn side of its counter. And there are many others, some only available to one side, such as Rebel Yell and Hot-Headed Rebs. Event cards may waive their primary effect and instead use a default action. Actions are move one counter, one hex, or two on a primary road, or shoot with one unit. Default actions are surprisingly useful, so don't overlook them. So what do I think of this game? Recall that the thumbnail for my game overview posed the question, is this the best Gettysburg game ever? I hate clickbait, so now after playing the game, I am prepared to give a more definite opinion. Note that I use Scenario 12 for my evaluation, which is the historic full 3-day battle. I got through most of Day 1 twice, and I am now into Day 2 of my third playthrough. Try that in a regimental treatment of the battle in 1 week. First, production value. Check. Yes, the production value of A Most Fearful Sacrifice are the best I have ever seen. The only one that compares to it is Lost Battalion Games' Rally Around the Flag, but that one is filled with problems and issues affecting playability. Playability. Check. Yes, A Most Fearful Sacrifice is a very intelligently designed game and well executed. Hermann is particularly proud of designing most status markers out of the game. The design factors that enhance playability include using demi-brigade infantry units. This cuts unit count by about 40%, but it is still way bigger than a brigade-level system. Abstracting out most status markers, further reducing chit density. Physical design, big counters, big map, and big hexes that do not crowd the big units. The one fly in the ointment is the small font used on the player aid cards. Community-made player aid cards are available on Board Game Geek, and I can personally attest that they help a lot. Even better, Flying Pig has announced that larger font player aid cards are being worked on and will be posted on the Flying Pig website. This is an issue that will go away, so I don't really want to tag it as a negative anymore. Hermann designed this game as a game to be played, not to be put on the shelf and admired. Yes, A Most Fearful Sacrifice is the best ever large format Gettysburg game for playability. Scenarios, 13 of them, including many playable on a single map or portion thereof, provide play possibilities for just about all of us. My impression is that much time and effort went into scenario development and testing, more than most other titles. Let's say A Most Fearful Sacrifice is as good as any and better than most in this regard. Historicity. Finally, I'd like to touch on the game's historicity. Most scenarios are primarily set-piece battles with most forces on map at the beginning. But having focused on the full 3-day battle, I have concerns that the large number of Federal units crossing the full width of the map are struggling to get to their appointed positions at the historic time. Too many units, too few cards. Especially when the entire movement of a corps activation may result in moving but a single brigade in an hour's time. The deadly two-step seems a half step out of sync, at least to me. The good news is that the issue is easy to fix. My next video will show what I do to set the problem to rest. Even better, after multiple emails flying about and meeting up with him discussing the issue, I think Hermann is coming around. Units will begin to march to the sound of the guns in scenarios 12 and 13. Maybe my threat to have him play the Yankees first time get him over to the house scared him. Go figure. Finally, please realize that for anything other than the full map, full battle scenarios, the system works fine. Tactical Chaos, where the metal meets the meat, is exceptionally well done. But for me, and this may be just a personal preference, I want the range of outcome to be narrower than what I see happening at the grand tactical level in Scenario 12. I want units to march effectively and efficiently without becoming the sole focus of their corps commander's attention. That attention rightfully belongs to units actively in a fight. So taken all together, and with some regret, I have to say that when I reach to my game shelf for a large format Gettysburg game, it is not going to be my much beloved 2nd edition Terrible Swift Sword that gets picked. I will be reaching for A Most Fearful Sacrifice, the best large format Gettysburg game ever. My congratulations to Hermann and his team, and my highest compliment. You done good, guys. Real good. If any of you still with me have not yet subscribed, go ahead and, as Professor Fate once said, push the button, Max. Become part of our community. One more video is coming for A Most Fearful Sacrifice, so don't miss it. And with that, this is Paul, the Oaken Knight, wishing you all a pleasant evening. Thanks for watching.